Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. For today's midweek meta deck, we are playing Ozymandias 17's Legacy Challenge winning deck list. Now this is a 4-colour deck list, but it's only lightly splashing into green and black. So it's kind of like a base blue-white with a whole bunch of really good white removal, Plow, Prismatic Ending, Leyline Binding, obviously blue stuff, Brainstorms, Ponders, Lorien Revealed, Murktides, Force of Will, Force of Negation, all that sort of good stuff. And then we're touching into green for Up the Beanstalk and Uro, as well as black for Orcish Bowmasters. Now, we all know Up the Beanstalk is a powerful tool in Legacy. This deck can leverage it a little bit, but not like enormously. We're not like going straight into it to make it be like the be-all and end-all of what we're doing. Because I found some of those decks playing things like Commandeer and stuff like that is just a bit too much. Whereas we're just playing good cards that go with Up the Beanstalk instead of trying to jam some of the stuff in. So Leyline Binding in our deck is going to be good anyway because me spending like 2 mana to remove stuff seems like a fine thing to do. You know, Prismatic Ending, we're unlikely to be paying this for 5, but we can do if we want to draw a card off of it in the late game. Obviously Lorien Revealed, just a good card on its own anyway. Same with Murktide and Force of Will. So we're not leaning in heavily into Beanstalk as much as some decks that run Beanstalk are. Mana base wise, we've actually got room for a little bit of basic land here. So we have a cheeky little snow-covered plains here that we can fetch, which is going to turn on all of our removal and hopefully be enough to get us to remove whatever's messing up our mana sometimes, if it's going to be like a permanent in play. Not much else to say about this, we're just playing good cards really. We've got one Mystic Sanctuary, which is interesting. Quick little raffle off of our jewels. We've got a Bayou, a Savannah, 3 Trops for the purposes of making our Uro. So this is quite a heavy green splash because we do need green for it. We got 2 Tundras and 3 Underground Seas. So we actually have quite a lot of black mana considering we're just playing the Bowmasters. But it's such a powerful card, we want to be able to make sure we can cast it. We do have things like Pernicious Deed and Extraction in the sideboard, which can, obviously Pernicious Deed has to use black mana. Surgical can use black mana. Then we've got a couple more Force of Negation, some Hydroblasts, nice little Terminus, bit more removal. And we've got a Deafening Silence. Carve of Flowers is just where you want to be if you've got green mana and you want a game to go beyond like 4 turns. It's just so powerful. And a couple of Veil of Summers. So yeah, we're basically just playing a deck full of good cards that have a little bit of synergy together. And we're eventually going to win the game with an Uro most of the time, but sometimes we'll just dump a Murktide into play and that'll be good enough too. Not much else to say about this one, so we're just going to jump right in. Remember to like and subscribe. And we have a little bit more administration as well. I'd like to announce the winner of the giveaway for me hitting 2,000 subs. That winner is Mystic Snake 4047, who I have messaged in reply to their comment, but they haven't got back to me yet. So if you're watching this, leave a comment and get in touch with me, and we can sort out sending you a copy of my book as well as your donation deck for the channel. Thank you to everyone who supported me. It really helps, and you know, it makes me feel good as well, to be honest, that I know I've got a bit of support out there. Anyway, that over and done with, let's jump into some Legacy with Ozymandias' Legacy Challenge winning deck. If you're looking to play Legacy on MTGO like me, why not try Card Hoarder? They're a rental service that I personally use, and I found them better than other rental services that I've used in the past. So why not give them a try? We're on the play for round 1. Our hand's pretty good. We got a bit of removal. We can fix our hand up if we need to find something else. And we've got a Bowmasters to be getting on with. Seems a-okay to me. Oh, our opponent is also playing... Well, our opponent is famously a Dredge player, but I have seen them play another deck once before. So we can't guarantee they're on Dredge, but I suspect they might be. So our Plow is going to be useful here. Okay, they might be on the blue Dredge build. Alright. Let's just pass the turn and see what transpires. Cracking a Misty Rainforest. And Volcanic Island. Okay, so they are on a blue Dredge build, which is not ideal, but it's fine. Bowmaster's not going to be so amazing here, but we can like use it to clear bridges, which is pretty reasonable. Okay, so got a guy Thug there. So that's the worst dredger in the deck, but it's still a dredger. Right, we're going to leave their graveyard popped out because it's a very important zone. Okay, Creeping Chill. Okay. Cephalid Colosseum. Now this is an interesting choice. So they can replace their dredges, their draws of dredges. So the Orcish Bowmasters won't really make a difference. So we're going to let them do this, and then we're going to use our Bowmasters to kill itself and try and ping off their bridges. Alright. Nothing really going on there. I think we're just going to play this Bowmasters as an attacker here. We're going to need white mana here, but we're also going to need green mana. So I think we want a Savannah here. We don't have any joy from pinging our own stuff off here. Because we can't remove any bridges because I haven't got any bridges. So we found a blue card here. We don't really want to be pitching our Uro, so we're going to keep this Brainstorm. Although, if we play the Brainstorm, we're likely to make a land drop. But that might force us to have to pitch the Uro to a Force of Negation, which might be awkward. But I think we need to keep making our land drops, because if we can get an Uro into play, that will outclass a lot of the things in their deck. Okay, so this has worked out a-okay for me. So I'm going to keep the land. Prismatic Ending we can put on top of our library for next turn. We'll put the Uro down, and then the Prismatic Ending. So we can pitch the Uro if we want to, but we're probably going to want to keep it and pitch the Ponder. Although we do have another Uro coming. A careful study. I think this is probably worth counterspelling here. So now we have to choose between this Uro or this Ponder. I think it's this Uro, and we're going to use the Ponder to fuel our Uro actually coming out the graveyard. Now our opponent's probably got, yep, counterspells of their own here. Yep, Creeping Chill. Chill. No bridges from below. Maybe they run a non-bridge build. That'd be interesting. Alright, we're taking a lot of damage from the old Creeping Chills, that's for sure. Okay, so we've got an Uro, another card down. I think this means we want to use... It's probably... it's hard to say which one we want here. If we find a Bowmasters, we might be inclined to put that on top. So I think we're going to leave open the mana from the Underground Sea. Let's Ponder. Up the Beanstalk, Misty Rainforest, Uro. So I want this Uro because that's going to let us outclass what our opponent's doing. But we can't play all of them. Yeah, it's a bit of an awkward spot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can put Uro into play next turn. So we may as well put... It's just a case of if we want access to white mana, we can get jammed up is the problem. Is it greedy trying to take this up the Beanstalk as well? Maybe. Because we're probably going to want to exile the Icarid this turn. Or at least some amount of things. So we're probably going to be using white mana this turn, which means we're not going to have time for up the Beanstalk. So we're going to put this Uro and then Misty Rainforest. I'll put out Misty Rainforest. Ideally, we're not going to be using the Misty Rainforest here. Our opponent will have some hasty guys, so we're going to chuck this guy in and hold back one guy to block with. We also have Plow and Binding available. Yep, so they got a couple of prized amalgams that are going to be coming back to haunt us here. Some more Icarids, understood. They have no bridge from below, so that's interesting. I will block here, save ourselves some damage. So end of turn they're going to get some amalgams back. Okay, just playing a thug. This can put Narcomoebas on top. I'm not really seeing any Narcomoebas though. Right, so these guys come back. And then I think... So I'm going to draw the Uro. I don't think this is a time for Beanstalk in. Then we're just going to be mana efficient. And do this Leyline Binding now. Get rid of one of these guys. Untap. We'll draw our Uro. I don't think we want this up the Beanstalk, so we're going to crack this fetch land first. Before we cast the Uro, not before we draw it, obviously. So we need a green source. So that's probably a tropical island. Alright, so green mana, blue mana, and we'll hold up a blue-white mana. That makes the most sense here. Let's get the Uro. There's no bridge from below that our opponent's got going on. We don't have a land card to put in. We don't get a chance to cycle this first. We could cycle this to get a land to put in so that we have more mana to work with next turn. I don't hate that. Let's go and get another Tundra. Let's make this bigger. I've misclicked on one of these recently and it really annoyed me. So, right, so we need a white source. We're getting the Tundra. Play our land for turn. And we'll pass. So what happened there with their amalgam is they had a trigger that they didn't bring the amalgam back then. They brought it back in our end step because their ones came back, which then let it trigger again. If that makes any sense. They do have Narcomoebas, okay. They've got to have Cabal Therapies in there as well. Why have they got red sources? Is it just for the Faithless Looting? That's probably fair enough. Right, we want to do some blocking here. So if we kill the Icarid. It's going to come back anyway. Blocking this doesn't make any difference. So we'll block here. And then we'll plow one of the 3/3s. Or we're playing one of the Icarids here. Kind of the same deal, but these always keep coming back. Then again, the prize amalgams can also keep coming back. I think we take the Icarid here because Prismatic Ending on a prize amalgam is easier to cast. Okay, so that's taking us down to 5 life, which is not the biggest amount. If we find a fetch land, we can set up a Mystic Sanctuary line so we can get back our Source to Plowshares here. You can crack this. Mystic Sanctuary. Let's get back this Source to Plowshares. Okay, blue, green, blue, green. Cast a 0. We'll get rid of some whatevers. Get our guy back. We'll draw this Source to Plowshares. So how many Icarids have we got coming back? 2 Icarids. So if we block here, this is 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. Do we have to block and plow our own guy? That doesn't sound great. Do they have enough black creatures? They don't have enough black creatures right now. They can only bring back 1 Icarid. They need to find a black creature with this. They did not find a black creature. Okay. So they can bring back 1 Icarid. Oh, they've got another otherworldly gaze they can cast in response to. So maybe they find another black creature. They found a black creature and a creeping chill. Yuck. Okay, I don't think we can beat that here, right? So we block here. We take 3, 6, 9 damage. And at the moment, if they bring back, so they're bringing back this. So this is 10, 11, 12 damage. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We can soak up some of this. Yeah, I think our opponent has us dead here. So we can block here. And then this is 3, 4. So 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. So even if we plow our guy, we still die. Yeah. On taste. Okay. So I would like some graveyard hate, please. Our deck is making Carpet of Flowers pretty viable as an option as well. So there's a bunch of stuff that has some text here, right? I don't think I want Hydroblast just for their thing, but Pernicious Deed is a sweeper, so we'll consider that. So these are options we have. Prismatic Ending is kind of expensive for what we're trying to do, I think. Don't think it's that efficient. Up the Beanstalk, we're not really trying to play the long Beanstalky game, really, are we? And then we have to decide what of these we actually want to keep. Maybe we are supposed to keep Beanstalks. Okay, so I don't think we're running those 4 cards. Then we're just going to be running... Deafening Silence isn't very good either here. So this is kind of where we're looking at. And we have to decide 2 cards to cut for this. We'll just trim a couple of ponders, to be honest. I like the Orcish Bowmasters because they can come in and ping themselves and they can provide 2 blockers, which will buy us enough time to get to the better things. Are we going to regret not having an Up the Beanstalk in our deck? Like something like a Murktide Regent can end the game very quickly. We obviously need our counter spells. Kind of need the thing that's part of our mana base. I don't really know what we can sideboard out here apart from the Beanstalks. Bowmaster's going to do any good for us? Is this hand going to do any good for us? We don't have any green mana attacks. I think we can do better. We don't have any green mana or white mana here. Alright, this one is a little bit nicer. I'll keep this. I'm going to throw back the Mystic Sanctuary because I don't really want that in my opening hand. We can pitch the Murktide or the Lorien Revealed, so we kind of do have another land if we need to pitch it early on. Alright, nothing from our opponent there. That's probably going to be the little blue thing that mills you out. That's probably going to be what they're going for. There we go, Otherworldly Gaze. Alright, we're going to leave that graveyard popped out because it's probably the most important zone for this game. A Force of Will and a Golgari Grave Troll. So we could try and hit this, or we could try and hit the payoffs. Our opponent might have a Force of Negation in the deck, so we're going to do this in their upkeep. I think I will hit their Dredger here. A Force of Will. Interesting. I think I will also Force of Will, pitching a Murktide. We got another Force of Will? Okay, so what they pitched here? Daze, And a Narcomoeba. Alright, they got a lot of things in their graveyard as well, so their Cephalid Colosseum is very much going to be turned on. Alright, so they didn't dredge in their upkeep, in their draw step. That's interesting. They knew what they were drawing off the otherworldly gaze, though, so it's not the strangest thing in the world. Alright, so they're going to get back a prized amalgam at end step. Force of Negation. Are we holding up Force of Negation? I don't think so. I guess we cycle this for... So if we get black source, it doesn't really matter if it's black or blue, or black or green. But we want islands for Mystic Sanctuary purposes, perhaps. So I think we take the Underground Sea over the Bayou. And then we can get rid of one of their attackers this turn. But they're going to be dredging at least 6 cards. There's a Grief there. We'll be attacking. Let's cast this. Let's exile their 3/3 and just take 2. Creeping Chills did an awful lot of work against us in the first game. A Mystical Sanctuary. Interesting. If we put this on top to try and snuff something out with a Surge of Extraction, that could be great for us, or it could go terrible for us. I think we're just going to play this land out instead of holding the Sanctuary, because we want to have access to more mana. Like, we could have held it in hand for getting another forest, for getting another island in play. But I think I'd rather have more mana to, like, cantrip into better things. And we had to make that decision ahead of time because Sanctuary comes in tapped. Okay, so they've got Narcomoeba, which is going to bring back their amalgam. We'll take 2 here. Yep, so we just didn't get to do anything on that turn cycle, which isn't great. 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, halfway to dead. Yeah, this Force of Negation is unlikely to do anything. It's something you want for like the early turns to stop things like Otherworldly Gaze. If you can hit the enablers with something like Force of Negation, which is going to leave them exiled as well, so Faith is Looting and Otherworldly Gaze can't be flashbacked. It's doing pretty good. So something like Grafdigger's Cage is going to be pretty good against our opponent's build because they've got 8 flashback spells as well as prized amalgams and Narcomoebas, so you shut off basically their whole deck and the Icarids. But I think they're going to beat us this game. I'd be very surprised if we won this one. Not that surprised, I suppose. We have Terminus. That's certainly a thing. Or a Creeping Chill. So this isn't a cast trigger. This is an ability. So I can't target this with a Force of Negation, in case you're wondering. Yep. So I'm going to take 6 here. Opponent's build looks really cool. So we need a Terminus this turn. Not a Terminus. We didn't really do very much in this game, unfortunately. But that's sometimes what Dredge does to people. Island Ponder. Maybe it can find us a green source for a 10-2 Beanstalk. If not, we have Bowmasters. This seems acceptable. Let's get Ponder in. We're looking for something that gives us a Savannah, ideally. Well, this does give us the sources we want. So we put the Binding, then we have the Lorien Revealed, then we have the Force, so at least we have the Force. Oh, wait, we don't have the Force up if we do that, do we? In that case, I think we're supposed to shuffle this one, right? Do you want the Lorien Reveal? We don't want the Force. We only want one of the cards, and that's the land, so we're going to shuffle this. Alright. We only wanted one of the cards, and that was the Lorien Revealed. And we could just shuffle it and get a land, and that would be better anyway. Like, the Force without a blue card is no good. Although our hand is looking a bit squiffy mana-wise right now. Right. And once upon a time, that suggests to me our opponent's probably on Cradle Control, as they call it, which is not a control deck really, but yeah, okay. So we get to Bowmasters this down. That's going to be a good turn for us. And if we can unlock our white mana at any point, we're away. Black, blue, make a guy, kill a guy. Alright. So the difference of being on the play on the draw, being able to make that play and just stop their turn 1 play from ever mattering is quite nice. Whereas they would have had the chance to make a 3-drop or something. Or, you know, a 2-drop and a 1-drop sort of thing. Okay. A Collector Oof. Sure. That's not going to really impact us. I would love to find a white source. If we find a white source, we win this game. That's pretty much what our hand says in this matchup. Up the Beanstalk. That's not the one, is it? That is not the one. We could bluff an attack with the Orc Army and pretend that we have a Bowmasters. But I don't think it's worth it just for the 1 point of damage there. Because the downside is if they call our bluff, we lose our Orc Army for nothing. Do need to find a white source. If we can get Savannah, we will win this game. And I don't think it will even be close if we draw on the next turn, because we have 4 removal spells against this creature-based control deck. Not control deck, mid-range deck. It's just called Cradle Control. It's not really a control deck. Okay, Green Sun Zenith for 2. Is this going to be a Fiend Artisan? It is. Can we draw into a white source? We can. Okay. Get the Savannah, which unlocks a bunch of our stuff. Now, what are we killing here? We need to do it on our turn before the Fiend Artisan can activate. I think it is just the Fiend Artisan that has to go here. I think that's the obvious one. And we're going to do the more mana-efficient play, because we might be able to double spell next turn. More easily, anyway. Get out of here. Now, if we can find another green or white source, then I'll be having a great time next turn. Because we can actually start chaining these beanstalks. So we have the option of just playing a beanstalk and hoping that we hit a mana source, which can fetch us white mana, which is a pretty bold play. Okay, they didn't have a natural order. Misty Rainforest. All right. This is what we wanted. So we want a white source or a green source. Probably a green source for purposes of Uro. So it's probably the tropical island here. And we'll fire off a beanstalk. An Uro. So now we have Leyline Binding as an option if we want to remove one of their creatures. Are we about that life? Are we just going to wait and see what our opponent does? They didn't natural order last turn when they could have. We could just have a greedy setup turn with another beanstalk. That is very greedy. But they didn't do anything last turn with the ability to do it. I think we're going to go for the greedy turn. Just set up to have the next turn be the end of the game, basically. Right, Force of Negation isn't going to help with an Allosaurus Shepherd in play, unfortunately. And Endurance. Okay. Is this saving up for a big enough natural order to kill us? Maybe it is. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that'd be 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so if we kill the Allosaurus Shepherd there, that still doesn't change the... They still kill us this turn. Right? They have 1, 2, 3, 4 less damage, 5 less damage this turn. And they're attacking us for way more than our life total. Yep. Which is a little bit slow on finding the white mana there. I guess we could have held up the plow and just killed some guys in a different fashion. I feel like we're maybe a little bit punished on that one. And we could have played that one differently, and we did go a little bit greedier than we had to. But this is good. We have a bunch of removal. Not a big fan of the forces here. They're okay, but we need to keep their guys down. So we're going to keep a few of them in. There's an argument for bringing in Veil of Summer, because they're going to have potentially some Orcish Bowmasters and Thoughtseizers. But they're not going to be big on those effects. So I think it's better off just to have lots and lots of removal, instead of having these cards which can be dead, whereas Force of Will, if we get to fire it off at some point, we basically do, and it'll be fine. I believe this is a matchup that we should be doing alright in. We can keep this. We've got Ponder to begin with into Beanstalk. So this gets us Savannah. And we can just start blowing stuff up. Do we want to keep this Force of Will? Do we want to keep this Ponder for the purposes of Force of Will? I think that's probably better than just firing it off, to be honest. Like, we've got the Beanstalks for cantrips anyway, so we can just go Beanstalk, Beanstalk. Ideally, I don't want to have to Force of Will anything this turn. I do not want to Force of Will that. So now we at least get to cantrip with our Force of Will as well. Alright, so this gets us a Savannah, which unlocks a whole bunch of our stuff. Alright, up to Beanstalk. So if we Force of Will, we get to cantrip off it, so it ends up being neutral for us. We don't have any red sources in our deck to make the Leyline Bindings cost 1. I thought Seize. I could counterspell this and protect our removal spell. I think it's worth protecting our removal spell. This cantrips as well, so they could have their own Veil of Summer here, but that's their whole turn, so they're not progressing their board. And that seems fine with me. Oh, Orcish Bowmasters, very nice. Right, our opponent's got 5 cards in hand, so quite a lot of juice to be working with. Plow, an excellent draw. So this is great as a Tundra, so I think we're just firing off this Bowmasters now and taking out the thing that they have in play. Right, so they've got Bowmasters of their very own here. That's what that floating of the mana signals to me. Yep, we're almost certainly going to plow our opponent's Bowmasters. I think we do this now. We don't plow it now, we fetch now for the Tundra. Reason being, our opponent could have an opposition agent in their deck. Maybe it might only be one to fetch with Fiend Artisan, but it's something that could exist. And it's free for us to play around it there. So we have a plow for this if we want it. Grist the Hunger Tide. That's an interesting one. You can create a little guy. I imagine the Orc army is going to attack here. But not the Bowmasters. Oh no. Okay, so now we will kill this Bowmasters. A land would be really nice here. Not a land, but it's a pretty good card. Is it more important to me to get this Leyline Binding off? Are we... If we Leyline Binding into a land and play it, we can then play a second Beanstalk, which is better than pondering. So I think we do the binding first. So what are we holding up here? We need green mana. We definitely want blue mana, so we're going to ponder afterwards. So I think we hold up the Tundra here. So draw us a card. We will exile their Grist. Play this. Crack this. So we need another green source. So this is going to be a Trop. It's a bit awkward with this deed, but we can do a deed for 1, and that's pretty reasonable. And the Beanstalks do cantrip on their own anyway. Alright. Feel relatively okay here. If we can find a way of drawing just a few more cards, I think we're going to be there. Green Sun Zenith, X equals 1. This is going to be the uncounterable guy, I believe. There it is. 3 mana. A level Hierarch, sure. So these are all going to get swept up on our Pernicious Deed. Another Cradle. Okay. 6 mana. Just going to be a natural order or another Green Sun Zenith? Feels like a Green Sun Zenith the way they're paying out their pool. Oh, it is a natural order. Okay, it's going to be pretty yikes for us. It's going to be an Atraxa, I believe. Yep, alright. Let's see what they reveal to us. A whole bunch of stuff. Alright. They chose no cards. That's probably a misclick. Alright, Source Plowshares would be a good draw here. Would be the best draw, in fact. Prismatic Ending. That is not what we're looking for. We do have the mana to ponder here. And possibly find a plow. And still do some stuff. Leyline Binding. I will take that Leyline Binding. Let's go ponder. Ponder. Binding. Do I want to draw 2 ponders? Not sure I do, to be honest. I think I don't mind drawing 1. So we go white mana and this mana. Play the binding out. We'll draw 1 card. And then we'll crack this for a black source. In case. Alright, our opponent's had enough because we're drawing a bunch of cards, killing their guy. The screw has turned enough on that one. Okay, I think we just run back in. We can ponder. We don't have a white source though. That's a little sketch. I think we'll go something a bit better. Alright, now this hand is significantly better. We can chuck back a Brainstorm. We've got 3 removal spells. And then the Brainstorm as a piece of trying to find the next piece of the puzzle. So this feels like a hand that should be able to beat a creature-based deck. Now, it doesn't mean it will, and there's lots of things that can go wrong. But I don't hate the spot we're in. A Bayou, we can get Thoughtseized here. Ignoble Hierarch. If we don't kill this, the way we get punished is if our opponent plays a Grist on the next turn, and that's really hard for us to answer. So I think because we have so many removal spells, we're okay to plow this one. If they play a Mana Dog on the next turn, we can Bowmasters it if we draw a black source. Otherwise, we can Brainstorm looking for a black source for later on. Allosaurus Shepherd would love to draw a black source. Elvish Reclaimer. Okay, that's worth ploughing as well. Opponent hasn't got a lot of cards in hand. Black source. Yes, I reveal this Terminus. Cast with Miracle, please. Okay. That was a good turn, as you probably guessed. I don't think we need to Brainstorm here, but there is an option of doing it now around Bowmasters. No play from our opponent. That's pretty good for us. This is signaling a Bowmasters, though. So we're not just going to plow straight into it. Honestly, casting an Uro into a Bowmasters is totally fine by me. Sure, you get a slightly bigger guy, but we start working towards an Uro, which will just beat whatever they're doing. So here comes the Bowmasters. They'll ping us for one and make a guy. They really don't have a Bowmasters. Okay, here it comes, yeah. They're waiting for it to be into play. Sure. It's fine. We've got removal. We can take their Bowmasters out if we find a black source. We do not have a land to put into play. Oakley dokley. If we have to, we can plow and brainstorm as well. And then we're most of the way towards casting Uro. But this basic Plains, which is the only basic in our deck, does not cast Uro, which to me feels not ideal. Alright, this is a Dryad Arbor they're going to fetch up here. There it is. And a Noble Hierarch. Please, let me draw a Black Source deck. If we draw a Black Source, we are pretty locked to win this game, I think. We did not draw a Black Source. Alright, I think we plow this. Then we cast a Brainstorm. Okay, we found a Black Source. That's good. I think we put back one of the beans. And probably the Lorien Revealed here. So what do we want here? We want a Black Source. So it's probably Underground Sea, isn't it? I don't really want to get Bayou on this board. We need more islands, I think. Right, let's take out the Noble Hierarch. Let's keep them off of having any reasonable amounts of mana. I saw a Shepherd. We can kill that when the time comes. If we need to. They're holding up potentially Bowmasters, but if that's all they've got in hand, then I'm pretty happy about that. Right, let's get our Beanstalk going. Misty Rainforest. I don't think we need to do this yet. We can plow some stuff here. Like, if we brainstorm, we're not really shuffling anything back at this point, are we? Although, we can just play the Uro next turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so you want to leave the Terminus in there for the purposes of Mystic Sanctuary. Yeah, so we can Mystic Sanctuary the Terminus on top. Terminus their guys, and then play an Uro. That feels pretty hard to lose from there. As long as we don't somehow die this turn, I guess. Right, I'll soak up the damage here since all our guys are going away in a second. Actually, this needs to be a green source if we want to cast the Uro, right? That's an interesting one. Fiend Artisan. Okay, like we're definitely doing the thing. Do I want to try and fish for a green source? If we turn this into a green source, we do get to Uro as well. So I think we should do this. None of these are green sources, but they are good cards. Which of the... I get to keep one of these. So we can play the Murktide and just end the game really quickly. That seems fine. Put these two away. Put the Terminus on top. This is such a broken play, isn't it? Just being able to fetch... Yep, our opponent sees the writing on the wall. So what we do is we wipe the board, we play a Murktide and draw a card. And yeah, creature matchup should be fine for this deck. I am finding the mana a little bit awkward at times though. Maybe it's going to require more reps to get used to what you're fetching and what are keepable hands sometimes. But sometimes our splashes feel a little bit awkward. But if it comes together like this, we smash pretty hard. Let's go to round 3. We have turn 1 cantrip. It is a cantrip for a land though. Into turn 2 Bowmasters, which is okay. Into Uro with lots of extra lands. I think this is pretty acceptable. The Uro is going to get to do both of these things. It's going to draw us a card and it's going to ramp us. A Goblin Rabblemaster. Okay, we might not have a lot of time to do anything here. Our hand is a bit slow and fair. But sideboards are sideboards for a reason. We're going to find us here. A Force of Will. A little bit late here. So we want the Tropical Island on turn 3. We want this now, I think. And then Bowmasters on turn 2. Yeah, sure. So now we're going to hold up Force of Will. And try and counter another creature and hope that our Bowmasters can jump in the way of the Rabblemaster next turn. And then play an Uro, and if we can get Uro in play, then we can probably win the game, because Uro is pretty gross. But this is going to be a big wallop. That's 6. Yep. They got follow-up. Feels like they got a follow-up. A Blood Moon. I do not think we can beat that, so I'm going to say no to Blood Moon. Yikes. Prismatic Ending doesn't quite clean up anything here. Yeah, Blood Moon is going to be a real doozy. That's why we've got the Hydroblast, but that makes me confused why we have a basic plains and not a basic island. Because the basic plain... yeah, we got a basic plains, not an island. So if we had an island, we could at least fetch for it to Hydroblast stuff. So there's going to be many damages. Let's see if we can get in front of it with the Bowmasters. If this doesn't work, then the game is over. But it feels like it's working. Sure, so we're going to take 3 this turn. So our opponent got another follow-up. An untapped Shatterskull Smashing. That doesn't fill me with a great amount of joy. Ugh. Caves of Chaos Adventure is... Whew, it's a big boy. Okay, so we need to draw Plow and a white source. Right, so we found the white source. So let's cast the Uro and see if we can find the Plow. We did not find the Plow. We did find a Ponder though. Not that that's necessarily going to help us. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're not dead. We'll put this one in. Right, we're casting Ponder here. These aren't going to get it done, are they? Orcish Bowmasters, probably also not getting it done. If our opponent has another land, they can activate Den of the Bugbear, which is obviously going to be bad for us as well. I don't see how we win this game. Our Terminus is in the sideboard, so I don't think we're going to be drawing that and having a good time at all. Alright, we could soak up 1 damage here. I don't think it's worth our guy to soak up 1 damage here. It does mean that the trap's not lethal, but we're going to be dead to it anyway. I'd rather have more ways of potentially pushing through and getting the initiative and stopping them from trapping us. Which I think is borderline impossible at this point. Oh, they've got another Caves of Chaos Adventure. Yep, we're just dead. Alright. I would like removal spell, please. I would like these Hydroblasts. I think Pernicious Deed is acceptable here. And this is probably what we're looking at. There's an argument for keeping in a bunch of the things we have. So we could have Force of Negation because Blood Moon is an absolute beating, as is like a Chalice could potentially ruin us too. So we don't have any like meltdowny type effects because we're not in red. Oh, sort of big. Actually, we don't really have any big artifacts here. We're just sort of relying on the Pernicious Deed. Interesting. So what are we going to cut to fit these spells in? I'm kind of down to cut out Ponders. Is wild, I know people query that one, but I like Bowmasters here because it can trade with Rabblemaster, but also it can make 2 guys to attack and get the initiative, and then our Plow is just a clean way through. Uro can just win games on its own, so can the Murktide. I guess the ending is less good than the Deed, right? They're kind of similar but different. Like, ending's good at taking out a Chalice, but maybe that's it. We're not really taking out... I guess we can take a Rabblemaster for 3 mana. I guess that's still better than having one of these, I think. Alright, we're going to try like this. What does hand do? It makes a turn 2 Beanstalk, a turn 3 Uro, and it's just too fair. We need to have some... Okay, so interaction like this is certainly keepable. And we need to keep this. We probably have to keep... Oh, do we have to keep the binding? Kind of want to keep double Leyline, double Beanstalk, but I think that's greedy. I think it should be send one away. In an ideal world, I won't have to Force of Will on the first turn. So I can at least get some value with the Beanstalk. But we'll see. A Rabblemaster. We can answer that at some point, but that point is not now. I don't think we can afford to just take this big beating. We're relying on our Up the Beanstalk to do a lot of work here. So the Leyline Binding is actually going to draw us a card when we get there. Alright. A Prismatic Ending. That could be useful. Basic Mountain. And another Rabblemaster. Okay, so we can clean this one up now. We have 2 different ways we can clean it up as well. We can binding or we can ending. I think we're probably ending it. Just because that's the binding can hit the Caves of Chaos Adventure more easily. Lorien Revealed. Okay, we might be doing some of that later. Doesn't necessarily want white mana, green mana, black mana. Alright. So we have a binding if they have a Caves of Chaos Adventurer. It doesn't stop them being in the initiative though. Lelia. Okay. That's very aggressive. Let's see what it finds. I think it's unlikely to find anything that does anything. A Sekenzen. Okay, so that is a land. Right. I don't think we play this Lorien Revealed as a... I think we play it as a spell, ideally. So we could Leyline Binding and try to hit something here. But I think our plan here is to Leyline Binding in combat. Because if they have another Lelia, we want to be able to stop them from being able to have it attack in this turn. So we just do it in the beginning combat step. So we need white mana. And get ourselves a free card. Misty Rainforest. Take out Lelia. We're certainly going to get another draw step. And we have a land, so we can just draw 4 cards on our turn and hope that that's going to give us enough juice to get over the line. Our opponent's got a lot of mana here. Okay, Fable. Fable's good, but it's not the thing that kills us. Usually, it's the thing that gets them towards killing us. Up the Beanstalk. How greedy would it be to try and get this Up the Beanstalk to draw us 1 card now? If we cast this Up the Beanstalk and it doesn't find us anything, then what? I think we just have to... Do you want this Prismatic Ending? I think we need another white source is the problem. Which means we already have 2 green sources. It's probably just a Tundra here. Yeah, so I think we are just going to go and draw a whole bunch of cards. Gas up for next turn. Hope that we can make it there. So if we just draw Up the Beanstalk and don't draw anything that goes with it, so we'd have just drawn that 1 land, then where would we be? Nowhere. So on our next turn we get to Uro, Plow. We could just Uro front and backside next turn. That's pretty strong. Which also allows us to then Plow as well. Okay, yes. I think we've got a game plan forming here. We can gain 6 life. Kill their scariest thing. Now, if they play a Blood Moon, right now we just lose the game. But that's an inherent weakness of our deck. So let's hope they don't exploit it. Uh-oh. That's Blood Moon mana. Okay, that's not Blood Moon mana. 6 mana, what is that? Oh, they're just casting a Fury. Okay, well, we found the thing we're going to be ploughing, so that's nice. Let's hope I've done my maths right here. Okay, so... we need white mana for the plough, so we go blue, green, and whatever to cast this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Alright, so we need to find another white source here. Oh wait, no, we've done this wrong. We have done this wrong. We put them in the wrong way round. We're supposed to put this one in, so that when we put the other land in... Oh no, we've made that somewhat of an error there, haven't we? Oh, jeez. I was talking it through really carefully and then didn't do the carefulness. Alright, how many white sources have we got left in the deck? So you've got the Savannah here. We might as well get the Snow-Covered Plains at this point, I think. White sources are kind of what we're looking for here. So are we making the Murktide? I don't think we're making the Murktide. I think we're just going to... I don't think we want the Lorien Revealed either. Do I want... If you just make the Beanstalk, or do we make the Murktide? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I think making the Murktide is probably... It's either make the Murktide or hold up Force of Will. So maybe it's hold up Force of Will is actually the correct play here. So we get the Mystic Sanctuary in here. We put the Force of Will on top. And then we cast the Beanstalk. Get the Force of Will, which will cantrip. And we will plough this creature. Alright, so we're going to take a little hit this turn, but we do get Uro next turn. And our Force of Will draw us 2 cards. So it'll actually be card advantage to counter their spell. Now they might just not play a spell into our... Right, we're going to take 3 here. Yeah, if we'd have put our lands in a slightly different way, we could have had the plough and have an Uro in play right now. And if we lose the game because of that, then fair enough. Although if we win the game because of the Force of Will being out of hand, that's a whole different ball game, I guess. All right, green, 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 blue, blue, blue. I'll leave up black just in case I find a Bowmasters. So we'll get rid of the things that don't pump a Murktide first. Can I have a delicious Uro? I think I just want to keep this Reflection of Kijiji off the board. So I feel we've turned the corner a bit. What is this? I want to bounce our Uro. Is this worth us fighting over? They have 3 damage. That's the Kenzen. That's not the one that attacks. Sure. You can bounce our array. We can replay it next turn most of the time. Like, we can always just cast a Murktide. We've got loads of mana. Alilia, Blade Reforged. Is this what I want to try and counterspell? I think I'm going to Brainstorm first. And if we find Binding or something... Okay, yeah, so we don't need to do that right now. We'll put the Tropical Island and the Euro on top. They can have this. We can just get rid of this now. Draw 2 cards. Pretty good feeling. Get rid of this. Because they've got enough mana to make a Caves of Chaos Adventure. I'd rather just not have the initiative in the game. So I'd rather save the counter spells for that. Also, Blood Moon. We don't really want that to resolve against us. Okay, so... Green. Alright, we'll go for this mana. Let's get our arrow on the go. Let's put this land in. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're not quite there yet with that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We could just draw like a million cards here. Let's crack this. And I think we're going to want some more white mana along the lines. White and green. So we'll cast this. We want to keep black mana for Bowmasters. 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright. So drawing a whole bunch of extra cards here. We've now got 8 cards in hand. We could plow something right now. We could just play this Bowmasters right now. I think that's fine. Saves us going to discard. We've got Force of Will up. We don't actually care about Caves of Chaos Adventure now. They can attack us with this. We're going to be having an Uro in play. Our life total is going to be happy and healthy. I'm feeling the lack of something like a 4th Eolingus to just say, okay, we win the game now, sort of thing. 3 mana. Sim Spirit Guide. That's not what I'm scared of. 3 mana. 4 mana. Shatter Skull Smashing. Sure, that's fine. Our opponent is Hellbent. We still have some fetchables, so let's do some fetching. Is that our last fetchable? Okay. Let's get an Uro into play. So, green, green, blue, blue. Right, we've got the big daddy Uro in play. We don't really need to do anything at this point, apart from turn our Uro sideways a few times. We've got 13 minutes on the clock, which should be enough for another game. Our opponent's got quite a lot more time on their clock than us, so I think they're right to make us play it out. We're more likely to get a time in a victory than they are. We have so much removal here. Fine, we just plow this guy just to keep our hand a little bit freer. Probably going to go to discard. Alright, let's draw some more cards. Got to be careful not to deck, to be honest. That's a real possibility. Okay, well, our hand is very stacked. We will not need to be drawing any cards with Lorien Revealed here. I guess we could have played a Murktide to quicken our clock. But we've got Hardcast Force of Will, we've got Hydroblast, we've got all sorts. I do not believe that card has any fetchables. In case I have my Diamond Shoes too tight here, let's just get rid of that. We can cast all the counter spells in the world here. This is the end game that you play for with this deck. Sure, more counter spells. Get rid of the binding. We got all these Hydroblasts. Alright. Can we do that again? Can we dodge a Blood Moon? I think on the draw we're more inclined to want these to stop Blood Moon, because this Blood Moon will just end us. So maybe we don't need the Prismatic Endings can kill some of the early plays as a thing. But then again, so can all of our other removal. I think we just need to not lose to Blood Moon. Not losing Blood Moon feels like a good place to be. We will trim one of Bowmasters. They don't seem great here, to be honest. Like, on the play, you can attack. You get the initiative, but on the draw, I just don't find them doing that much. We can counter a Blood Moon. We can kill a guy. This hand is keepable. Den of the Bugbear. No play on turn 1 from our opponent. Don't hate that for us. Tundra it is. Which gives us the flexibility to plow or hold up counterspell, and hold up counterspell. And the next turn we can deploy the Beanstalk or the Orcish Bowmasters, depending on what our opponent does here. A Trinisphere. How much do I care about Trinisphere? It shuts off our Force of Will and makes some of our other things a bit awkward. And we're never going to be able to counter Blood Moon if this is in play anyway. Alright. I guess we're saying no to Trinisphere. This feels like they're just baiting us to get us with a Blood Moon. But I don't think we're going to win under a Trinisphere either. Let's get an Underground Sea and let us cast... Yeah, this gets us an Underground Sea to cast Bowmaster. I think it's more important to get Bowmaster into play than it is to get a Beanstalk into play, given our current hand. Needing a creature on the board is going to be key. But we don't have a basic island to fetch. If our opponent just goes Blood Moon here, we will lose the game. Alright, game losing mode activated. So we could get our one white source and try and play off of it. Or we could get the Bowmasters and hope that our opponent is all in on this play. I think that's what we have to do here. But we are very cold to this. I do not think our chances of winning this game are existent at this point. We can hard cast a Leyline Binding if we find our planes. Fury, Grace. Okay, so our opponent's not got a lot going on now, in theory. But neither do we. And their top decks are so much better than ours because we don't have ways of playing the game right now. We've got this beautiful mountain and we'll play this other beautiful mountain. And our opponent just has to find a way to kill us and then we can scoop it up. But again, we can just play a Leyline Binding for 5 mana and take it out. Caves of Chaos Adventure. Okay. We have 2 draw steps in theory. It could be only 1 though. Pernicious Deed. That's not the one. Right, our next draw step has to be the basic planes. Maybe we are supposed to fetch the basic planes there instead of playing the Bowmasters. But like, even if we still had a basic planes right now, we would be very far from winning this game. Alright, top of the deck's got to be the planes. Nope, we are spent. I'm happy to call it there. Yeah, that matchup felt weird because if a Blood Moon comes down, that's game over. And trying to have like 6 mana Leyline Bindings as your answer. Or sorry, 5 mana Leyline Bindings as your answer. That doesn't feel great to me. Yeah. Like, you know, we still got things like Hydroblast that could pick it up. But we don't have a basic blue source to play off of. So it is just hard cast a Leyline Binding to try and take out Blood Moon. Which felt like the rest of the matchup feels alright. But this one card is ruining us. And I feel the mana base is... Well, I mentioned before the mana base felt a little bit awkward. So the Blood Moon can prey on that very easily. Alright, let's go to round 4. Our opening hand is okay. We've got turn 1 cantrip or Force of Negation fodder into turn 2 Beanstalk, into Uros and Bindings. If our opponent's hand is fair, we can... Oh, excuse me. If our opponent's hand is fair, we can sort of ease into the game. They've already mulliganed to 4, so probably not a fair hand. So this Force of Negation can hopefully shut that down. A Badlands. A Faithless Looting. We're going to say no to this. That's the enabler that sets off the Reanimator deck, which is what I suspect our opponent of being. Alright, playing Misty Rainforest. So this wants to get us black. Well, it can get us black or white. It can't get us both. Okay. Grief, exiling Shallow Grave. Sure. Depending on what our opponent takes might make our fetching a lot easier. If they take the black or the white card, then sure. I think I'm quite likely to take the Leyline Binding, to be honest. Like, that's the thing that actually interacts with them. So okay, they took the Beanstalk. And then they scooped. Okay, they just wanted some information. Interesting. Okay, so I am suspecting full-on Black-Red Reanimator. So I would like these Surgicals. I would like these Veils of Summer. I would like these Force of Negations. And this Terminus is playable. Prismatic Ending is rarely going to find anything. Maybe you can hit like 2 mana for one of the little cantrippy, the little enchantment things like Animate Dead. But I think holding out for that is a fool's errand. We do need ways of winning the game. That's where Uro comes in. Bowmasters is very good against Grizzlebrand. Up the Beanstalk is kind of slow. But I think that's probably still where we need to be. Then we can trim maybe 2 Ponder. I don't think we can trim any more. I think the bindings are okay. We kind of don't want our opponent's creatures to get into play in the first place. So we'll get rid of a couple of those. Maybe we just get rid of all of them. Something along the lines of this. If they put a creature in, we're going to be getting with a plow rather than a binding, because then it's gone for good as well in exile. Okay, we have a Force of Negation that plays. We have a little bit of removal, which I'd rather not have, but I think this is okay. Our opponent kept 7, so we're going to lose this game. A Reanimator that with a 7-card hand is usually good enough. We could Force of Negation this, but I think we just let them take the Force. Yeah, it ends up kind of the same, except we're 1 card up. They do have the information to work with, though. Alright, a Fluting. Let's see what it finds. Archon of Cruelty and another Faithless Looting. And a Grief. Might as well while we've got this Veil of Summer. We don't have white mana for this Plow. But, well, we don't really have anything right now. So, I think they're going to Archon of Cruelty and then we're going to be dying soon. Right, we have mana for Plow. So they can reanimate the guy and we can kill it. That's not a bad situation for us. It's not a great situation either, but we do what we must. Alright, I've played out the Underground Sea there to represent Orcish Bowmasters. Make them think about that more. It has dropped the fact that we could have maybe double plowed. But now we can play the Savannah and hold up double plow or hardcast Force of Negation. And then sort of work towards a Murktide. There goes the Verdant Catacombs. A Faithless Looting. I think we let this go and then try and counterspell the next thing. Like the thing that actually puts it into play. 2 Entombs. Well, they've got a guy in the bin, so that's clearly not what they're looking for. Snow-covered plains. I don't think we need that right now. Just keep making land drops. We can't use a Mystic Sanctuary to get a Veil of Summer back or anything, because we don't have enough islands. Just another Fluting. Okay. This is the element I kind of like out of the Reanimator deck. I would just really like Faithless Looting as a card. So I like the ability of sort of being able to sort of... Their enabler becomes something that gives them a bit more juice later on. Alright, we have a Surgical now. And 2 of the creatures in their graveyard are Archon of Cruelties. So. Unmask. Targeting us. Let's take out this Archon of Cruelty. We get to see what their hand is and we can work out how best to do this. Okay, so I have 2 Reanimates here. No more in the deck. They've got 4 Mages of the Moon. They'll definitely ruin our game at some point. 3 Grizzlebrands, 2 Atraxas left. And the Grief that they have in the graveyard. Am I counterspelling this? I don't think so. You can take 1 card here. They have 2 Reanimates. Sure, you reanimate this guy. We plow it. You can either take our other plow or you can take our Murktide. They can reanimate again on our Murktide. But then that's a 1 mana 3/3. That's not. Alright, we do need to find some action now though. That's the reason they took the Murktide, because we don't have any action going on here. None of these are things I necessarily want to put back on top of my library right now. As funny as that is. Interesting. I think I'm just going to keep the Mystic Sanctuary in hand. Because we might have something we want to rebuy later. But right now, I don't think I want to put like a Force of Negation on top of my library. Because that's... Okay, yeah. So this they're just going to animate this Murktide. That's fine by me. A Brainstorm. Okay, finally something to do things with. Let's Brainstorm. I guess Mystic Sanctuary and Underground Sea can go. We can take 3 from this and then plow in the end step. Just hold up this Force of Will. Let's crack this for Tundra or a Trop. Probably Tundra here, isn't it? And then this one needs to be Trop. Or do we want to put Brainstorm on top of our library? I think we will do this and just keep our Force of Will held up. Alright, our opponent's just building up for the next volley there. Now this is the exact sort of card that I've been trying to draw here. 1, blue, blue. Hold up the Tundra here. So we need to find a blue card to go with our Force of Will ideally. Oh, they've just had enough. So what we can do is we can do this and then Mystic Sanctuary it back again, and we can just draw 6 additional cards over 2 turns. But our opponent's had enough. We are 2-2 going into the final round. Our opening hand does get to play Magic. So what do we get here? This gets us a Savannah, which then finds us a Underground Sea, and that unlocks all of our colours. Now, if our opponent thought sees us and takes our Lorien Revealed, not going to feel an amazing amount of happiness right there. But alright, there's an Underground Sea. A Ponder, we dodged that one then. Underground Sea Ponder doesn't really narrow it down too much for what our opponent could be playing. We have to be prepared for things like Doomsday, but Bowmasters is pretty good against Doomsday as a general rule. Right, are we playing around anything here? I don't think so. Like, we could play around Opposition Agent, but we're more likely to see a Wasteland out of our opponent. Right, no Wasteland. They're cracking their Delta. We're going to see here a Dalthy Voidwalker. In response, we will cycle this so it doesn't go into their graveyard. So we said Savannah into Underground Sea, I think it was, because this has to get an island. We don't want our opponent having a draw 3 underneath their Dalthy Voidwalker. Right, so this feels like a scam deck then. So it's kind of showed us what they're up to. So we want to push through and draw as many cards as we can here. And just get up above what our opponent's doing. We'd like to find some lands, but I'm going to take 3 from this little friend. He's not our friend, but not today. Ponder, sure. Our opponent has Bowmasters mana up right now, so we have to be careful if we're doing any card drawing on our turn. But they don't have to play Bowmasters if we do nothing. They can just hold it up for our Bowmasters. Because they're in the situation where they've got the pressure, so we're the one that kind of has to act. Big fan of being the proactive deck, to be honest. Let's see, what do we got here? A tropical island. Okay, I don't hate that. I don't think we're playing out this Beanstalk, though. And we're just passing. For our opponent Bowmasters, we'll kill their Bowmasters. Or we'll Brainstorm in response. Hey, Bowmasters. I think we just play around days here and just kill their Bowmasters. You always want to be the person playing the second Bowmasters. Or the third. Or whatever the last Bowmasters is, as a general rule. I don't think our opponent had to play that Bowmasters then. Uh-oh. Well, they've hit our white source, so we still have Bowmasters available. But we no longer have Leyline Binding. So our opponent is telegraphing a Bowmasters very obviously here, so we're just going to let them do that. Yeah. Alright, so we get to Bowmasters them back again. And just continue this whole sorry song and dance. But we are just slowly bleeding out to this Dalthy Voidwalker. Which is going to beat us, I think. Force of Negation. Not really what we're after. Let's show them a Mystic Sanctuary. That'll make them feel pretty safe. And let's just play Bowmasters and get their Bowmasters out of the way. If we have a daze here, then we have a bad time. So now we can trade off against their Orc Army token. Then hopefully find a white source to Leyline Binding away this Dalthy Voidwalker before it's too late. However, they have a Bowmasters underneath their Dalthy Voidwalker, so they could just Bowmasters our Bowmasters here. A fatal push. I do not want our Bowmasters to go. I think this is an important piece for keeping their board down, because they can't do their cantrips and things. Just a Dalthy, yeah. We do need to find ourselves a white source. Ugh, that's so backbreaking again. Whenever I play against Wasteland decks, I'm always wondering why am I not playing the Wasteland deck? Yep. No more black sources, although we have cast 50% of the black spells on our deck at this point. I'm amazed I didn't draw it for saying that. So we don't have any plays other than Beanstalk. If they have the Bowmasters, that's very bad for us. But we need to draw out of where we are here. They have a third Bowmasters. They do not. And we found the white source. We can Prismatic Ending away this token. Then we can get some attacks in. I'm not expecting anything like Snapcast. These decks haven't played Snapcaster. So, alright, our opponent is much further ahead in the race, but we can cast Leyline Binding next turn. Alright, Fatal Push, sure. This means it unlocks the cantrip that we expect is in our opponent's hand. Alright, so they're not sacrificing the Dalthy Voidwalker or anything, they're just coming in with the beats. Brainstorm. This could still end up with a Murktide Regent, which kind of puts us in a horrible spot. But our Leyline Binding does draw us 2 cards. There's a Wasteland. Goodbye, white source. Yep. Yeah, we're just going to get annihilated because of our mana base here, I think. Playing many colours is not free. That is the real secret. Okay, this is going to put us to 3, which means the Doughty Voidwalker is lethal, so we're going to have a bad time. We have this card that we can't cast. If we cast Bowmasters, we die. We're dead anyway, yep. Rest in pepperonis, us. Okay, so carpets are essential for this matchup. I think we're going to win without them. I don't really like 2-for-1ing ourselves in this sort of matchup either. So we want carpets and we want veils. I think Pernicious Deed is okay. It's good against orcs and Doughty, but that's about it. Terminus, I do like. A 1-off surgical isn't the worst. Can like take out some annoying troll lines that our opponent has. I think 1 deed is, I don't know, like, if we're cracking it, it's probably going to be hitting our beanstalks as well. Maybe just have the 1 surgical. It's a nice misers to have. You never want to draw 2 of them in this matchup. But 1 certainly has some uses. Like stopping their grief reanimate lines on, like, in the sort of mid-game. Or stopping a troll on turn 2 coming down. But the most important card in this matchup is the Carpet of Flowers. I think I would much rather be on the opponent's side of the board. It feels like that our deck doesn't have enough lands in. Like we're a 20 land deck, but we're 4 colours, and we're trying to push into like a later game, really, with like Uros and things. I feel having a little bit more mana would be handy. But I don't know, we'll see. Okay, we got some removal, we got some pondering. This seems acceptable. Our opponent's mulligan to 6. Alright, let's smooth our draws out going forward. I'd like some more lands. Oh, this Veil of Summer's nice too. We can't use it this turn, so we're going to put C on the bottom, Veil so it can't be taken this turn, and then Strand on top. So next turn we can have Veil up, Veil or Plow. Underground Sea, nothing. Ooh, don't hate that at all. Right, so this gets us. We want. So we have like all of our plays here. We've got Bowmasters. We can Leyline Binding even. Okay, so they're having a troll here. That's fine. We can do a whole lot. We'll see what our opponent does. If they don't play a Wasteland, then I might shuffle away this card on top of our library. But I do want to keep making land drops. But we do need to find an engine as well, like an Uro or a Beanstalk or something. A Doughty Voidwalker, that's an interesting one. Like, I'd rather use a Prismatic Ending on this. I think I will draw this land. So we want a white source. So, problem is, if we try and Prismatic Ending this, we lose our Veil of Summer, which we can no longer hold up. So maybe we have one more turn. We have 1 turn of this beating us down, perhaps. And then we can plow it. Or Prismatic Ending it, holding up the Veil. I think the Veil is just going to be really important here. Yeah, we'll take the 3. Reanimate on the Troll. Yep, that's the thing that you've got right there. And a Wasteland. Let's crack this. Are we getting a basic Plains here? I think we might be. We can't afford to be waste off of our removal colour. Right, so let's plow the big boy. Let's untap. Let's draw for turn. Then we play a Trop here. This can get us a Savannah if we need another white source or a green source. So white and leaving up the Underground Sea means our opponent's slightly more likely to wasteland that. You can see a Bowmasters here. No, just another Swamp Cycle. See another Troll. Could happen. A Grief. So I think we're on the Savannah here. Let's resolve, and then in response to the trigger, we will Veil of Summer. Not a bad turn. I feel like we are kind of getting somewhere now. I think I want a Beanstalk here. Alright, another white source is nice to see. Another black source also nice to see. What's more important to us this turn? I think the black source is slightly more important this turn. I think we want to get a Bowmasters down. I don't want to double block this Grief. But if it comes to it, that's something we can do later on down the line. Yep, we'll take our medicine here. Just using our life trail as a resource as best we can. A Narset. I think this is a brainstorming response moment. Use it or lose it. Okay. Guess we're putting these two back. We can hit this with a Leyline Binding. Or we can ping it down with the Orcish Bowmasters and try and kill it. Palantir of Orthunk. Yeah? So we can remove at least. Alright. Fatal Push is pretty good against us here. Just ping down the Narset. If we can attack the Narset, then we can start drawing cards again. Narset. Narset. No Fatal Push there. That's okay, so we have Leyline Binding, we have Source to Plowshares. A selection of things. We want to keep these we're going to keep one binding for the Palantir, because that can get really out of hand. I don't really want to have to deal with that. Are we answering this? I think the time has come to say no to grief. We could have cracked so we weren't drawing the Tundra we knew on top, but I like having multiple white sources, especially when our opponent's on a wasteland over there. Sure. We should have done this before they went to end step, really. A little bit sloppy. I think if we want the white source, there's got to be a Tundra here. Right, take out the Palantir. We've done this slightly wrong. We should have done it in the end of their main phase. We just accidentally clicked through to the end step there. So if we lose to whatever this is, they mill no. Oh, sorry, they mill no cards because there's no counters on their Palantir because they don't have a Palantir. Okay, no, that's fine. It's worked out fine. Let's cast a Brainstorm. I hear it's a pretty good way of starting a turn. Yeah, a lot of these cards are pretty nice, aren't they? We could cycle this Lorien Revealed as a shuffle effect, but I kind of like all of these cards in various ways, shapes, and forms. So I think we'll put the Tundra, put the Lorien Revealed and the Ponder on top. We'll play this land out. Go green and white mana here. Play this. Draw a card. Cast this for blue. Blue. Make the biggest Murktide in town. Draw 2 cards. Cantrip and Murktides. Don't mind if I do. Okay, this game is now firmly in our control, I would say. An Uro would really help us out. Just give us enough of a life total buffer that we're not going to die to like random sort of recurring trolls. Alright, so we've got grief here. I think I will just plow this now. Be over and done with. Right, we lose the Bowmasters. We already have a Bowmasters. They didn't take the Lorien Revealed. That seems wild to me because we're about to draw all the cards you can imagine. Blue. Blue. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. we just completely gas off our hand again. Alright. Do we want to do anything differently? I don't think so. And we just want to remove their guys and just beat them with superior card advantage. Right, we've got removal spells, we've got some lands. Seems alright. Our hand is 4 lands effectively, which is probably what we want against Wasteland because that's the thing that's probably going to beat us. So I like this one. We've got the Beanstalk to kind of get a lot of value with as we go on. We can't get our basic planes with our setup right now. So we're going to be playing on non-basics for this game. Well, we can only play on non-basics for our deck as a general rule. But we're going to want to fetch overlapping white sources because we don't want to get waste off of white. Because as long as we have white mana, we should be able to control the game because of all of our removal being white. Okay, our opponent's mulligan to 6. So we're going to have more cards than our opponent because we've kept and we're on the draw. So we just need to make sure that we leverage these cards. Alright, this is a bad start for us. They could take out both of our Lorien Reveals if they wanted to, but I think they're going to take out the Plow and the Orcish Bowmasters here. I'm expecting them to reanimate this. And they took our swords, and they're reanimating, and this time they're going to take Bowmasters, I believe. Just leave us without anything that plays to the board and just beat us down and kill us. That seems... Yep. That's exactly what I would do, opponent. Carpet of Flowers, though. That's a good one to get down right away. So I think we want a Savannah here. Is it Savannah or is it Trop? Carpet Flowers, please. Oh, excellent. We do get to do something with this. So we will make some mana. We will cycle this for a Tundra. So they got 3 cards in hand. They're going to grief us. 2 cards in hand now. They're going to grief us. If they've got Bowmasters in hand, then this is going to be bad for us. Swords to Plowshares. Right, this is not so bad anymore. Okay, yes. We'll take green mana. Play our Tundra. We use our 2 green mana to cast this, and then we can plow our Bowmasters away if they have one. If we have a Daze which we haven't seen yet, and that blows us out, then fair enough. Orcish Bowmasters, sure. I think in the long run, this Bowmaster is going to do more damage than the grief. But how long are we going to get to play this game for? Who knows. But we need to be able to draw cards and dig our way out of this. A Brainstorm. That's a good card for drawing your way out of things. Let's see if they play any more lands. Either if they draw them, they might be inclined not to play them. Right, so take us for 4 this time. Yep. Wasteland, okay. Sure, Carpet though is very strong. Yes, I would like blue mana. I cast this. If you got another Bowmasters, you do not. Okay, we can play a big Murktide. I like that. We'll put back a couple of lands here. We can ponder as well first if we want to. So we can shuffle, get a white source. Savannah. Or Tundra. Probably a Tundra, isn't it? Probably a Tundra. Cast this ponder. Okay. I like the Uro here quite a lot. We'll bury the Beanstalk. And you're going to play this. Flooded Strand. Shuffle library. No. Let's go for blue. Blue. Make a big. We still have enough cards to make an Uro here. So every time we play an Uro, it offsets an attack from the grief. And we have a 2-turn clock here. Right, they can cycle for a troll. That's pretty reasonable if they can reanimate it. Wow, is that true? It'll put them to 6. I'll take the 6. Yeah, I guess that's still pretty reasonable. Sure. So on the next turn, we can Uro. Just to gain a little bit of life. Keep ourselves going. This is a pretty close one. Yep, just a 3. That's going to put us to 7. They did not reanimate the troll. That's good news for us. Up the Beanstalk. That's not really what we want here. And we will make blue mana, I think, here. Or is it green? I think it's green mana, actually. And then we can tap 1 blue here. Did you find a Bowmasters? They did find a Bowmasters, though. Okay, that's not nothing. So now I don't really want to play this Up the Beanstalk. I will cycle this, though. For... guess we want another white source. We also want another green source. So this can get us Tropical Island. So if we just get another Tropical Island to make it easier to cast Uro next turn. So we're on 8 life here. This is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So another Bowmaster will kill us if we don't. But if we don't attack now, how are we winning this game? I think we just swing and hope that our opponent's Brainstorm wasn't like the absolute nuts. We can cast Uro without cracking our fetch because we have the Carpet. Sauron's Ransom. Okay. Interesting. We'll show them face-up Brainstorm versus these. Yeah, sure. So those 3 cards are basically the same as a Brainstorm. I could have done the pile the other way around, but I think it's fine. This is 3, 6, 7. This puts us to 1. Alright, we got it in the end. Whew. A 3-2. Let's talk about the deck. So, it was tough. We did lose a game to Wastelands. We got absolutely pummeled when a Blood Moon entered the game. That did not feel fun to play against. I've played a few of the Beanstalk decks so far. And what I will say about this one is the mana doesn't feel amazing on it. It feels the worst of the mana of the Beanstalk decks I've played so far. That's kind of a cost you get for playing 4-color. But I will even say that the 4-color Delver deck we played had better mana, even though it was lower to the ground. It just felt like it had better mana than what we're working with here, which is kind of interesting. I'll also say that we're not like a full big control deck. We don't have like the big, okay, this is how we win the game right now, like 4th Eorlingus in some of the decks. And Minsk and Boo is another one that's just like, okay, this is going to win you the game a couple of times. But mainly it's 4th Eorlingus is like the big draw for control decks. So it just says, you play this card, you probably win the game. So instead of just turning the corner and edging your way to victory, he just says, no, I'm going to slam the door straight away. Now, Uro is quite good for that. We only have 3 copies of Uro. Murktide is fine for that, but we don't have many targets for removal, so especially game 1, our Murktide is just going to get gobbled up. I think these would be better off as... I don't know, what would they be better off as? I think maybe just have a 4th Uro would be nicer. To be honest, like, Uro is just so good. I think it's just a better win condition than Murktide. They both get shut off by Graveyard Shenanigans anyway. I wonder if there's some kind of decent-y Planeswalker-y type thing we can have there. Like, if we had another Uro... Obviously, the Murktides are in there because they trigger Up the Beanstalk. But the Beanstalks felt fine. Like, the Beanstalks in this deck felt like they were doing less than all the other decks I've played Beanstalks with. So we don't have any, like, Furies that we can be pitching. We do have the Force of Will still. But some matchups we're having to board those out as well. And if you've board those out, you've basically just got, like, Bindings at that point, right? And then Lorien Revealed. But if you're casting Lorien Revealed, one of 2 things is happening. It's a desperation play, or you're so far ahead that you're winning the game. And I don't think that Up the Beanstalk making the Lorien Revealed slightly better is necessarily where I want to be. I think this deck would be... I don't know, maybe it doesn't need Beanstalk. And you can just be a more control-y Uro deck. But, it's not bad. It does cantrip. If it draws you a second card, it's 2 mana, draw 2. And that's fine. And as you saw, as you find more of them, they do get better. And having access to green mana for Uro is something you want in your deck anyway. And you do want to have powerful cards like Carpet Flowers, which won us the final game, as you saw. So, I don't know, maybe I'd have to play more games to be definitive on this. But it did feel like we didn't have enough mana and we weren't stable enough with our mana sometimes. Whereas when I played some of the other decks, they just felt a lot more solid. Now, you can argue, is there a need for black mana in this deck? Could we just play a Bant Beanstalk deck? Now, the one issue with that is that Triumph of the St. Catherine is not on Magic the Gathering Online. If it was, I think Bantstalk is probably where I'd want to be. Like, obviously, Orcish Bowmasters is a very powerful card and can shut people down. But I think just the solid mana base of the Bant deck that also plays a small Life of the Lone Wasteland package is really strong. And Triumph of the St. Catherine is such a good threat, especially when you have Beanstalk, where you're paying 2 mana for a 5/5 lifelink that triggers you Up the Beanstalk. That just feels really good, and it recurs and keeps going again and again. So I think that's probably what I would prefer to play to this, and just have a more solid mana base, because you definitely saw how our mana wasn't free. Like, if your opening hand has the actual jewels in instead of fetch lands, you can sometimes not be able to cast stuff, right? It definitely felt like we were on shaky ground a few times. And we don't have any tri-lands, whereas like some of the other decks I've played have had more lands. They've also had tri-lands so that you can go and fetch something a bit more useful if you're in the spot where you need a bit more access to varying colours. As well as sometimes even having off-colour stuff for binding. But I think if you're going to go 4 colours to play your Beanstalk, you should probably just play 5-colour Beanstalk and just go full in for it and do like 4th Theolingus type stuff. That's my take, at least. Because that card is pretty good. I also think the control decks running the One Ring are very strong. That's something I would consider. Which, again, in Bantstalk will get better if you have Triumph of St. Catherine. Maybe you don't even need to be a Beanstalk deck if you're playing the One Ring. But I do think Bantstalk is what I would like to play. But one day we will get Triumph of St. Catherine onto Magic Online. It's been a long time, but one day. Alright, I don't think I've got much more to say about this. We didn't really have... I think the Pernicious Deed is perhaps a little bit too cute as a card. I know some people are kind of into it, and it definitely has uses against decks with like lots of 0 drops and Urza Saga type shenanigans. It's very good against Urza Saga. But it's not quite meltdown good, because this is quite expensive, right? It's 3 mana and then X mana again. Whereas for a meltdown, for 3 mana, you're blowing up all the 2 drops or whatever. Now, obviously, this hits other things as well, so it does have some other uses to it. It can just be a sweeper. But, like, another Terminus might be quite nice, because I think the whole Miracle Bant package of just Terminusing Mystic Sanctuary is so strong. Like, a lot of creature decks just can't beat that. So I kind of want to lean more on that. And we are very cold to Blood Moon, whereas Bant would be less cold to Blood Moon. And you could even play your own Wasteland Recursion package. I'm sure the day that Triumph of St. Catherine comes online, you'll see some sort of Bant pile from Bosch and Roll. And they'll be far better at assembling it than I will anyway. But nevertheless, that's what I think I would rather play than this. It just didn't feel like we were quite control-y enough, and we weren't quite aggro-y enough either. But this is definitely a nice showcase on Lorien Revealed being a good card today. Anyway, I think we are done for today, so remember to like and subscribe, really helps the channel out. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.